Okay, thank you everyone for being here today. We're very excited to be here and talk about our presentation. So my name is John DiCapua. This is Davis Zhao, Dong Yao, and Taylor Miller, and our team name is PT Partner. So total knee replacement is one of the most performed orthopedic procedures in the United States, yet it has over twice the 5-year chronic pain complication rate compared to total hip arthroplasty. And this is a problem because if we consider the TKA utilization rates, which are exponentially increasing, we're going to have a really large chronic pain population in the United States due to TKAs. One of the largest ways that we can prevent chronic pain following TKA is physical therapy. And the effectiveness of physical therapy is dependent largely by a therapist's ability to evaluate a patient performing their physical therapy at home and performing high-quality physical therapy. And that's where our device comes in. So the main component of our device is 3 gyroscopes, and the gyroscopes are placed above the patient's knee, below the patient's knee, and below the patient's ankle. And the gyroscopes are going to be paired with a phone app, which we'll show in a moment, and they're going to be able to track a patient's movement and range of motion while the patient is performing their physical therapy at home. These are the actual electronics that we plan to use in our device, and we laser cut the enclosures that can be seen here on the patient's brace and foot. So the value of this is that a physical therapist can actually track a patient performing the physical therapy at home. Additionally, if a patient is not reaching the required range of motion during their treatment course, the physical therapist will be updated about that, and they'll be able to do early interventions for that patient.
Okay. Now we have a quick demo of our app. So let's get started. Move this over. Just one moment. Okay, so what our app does for each exercise is it provides an overview of what the function, the steps, and then photos to help the patient know the correct procedure. And what's special about it is that with the gyroscope sensors, you can actually validate and make sure that the patients are going through the full range of motion, the correct amount of repetitions, and the right amount of sets each day. Okay. And then with this data, patients can track how they're doing in their range of motion and also their total recovery in a variety of health metrics that can be exported to physicians.
Awesome, thanks. Okay, so we plan to market this device to healthcare providers. The American healthcare system is moving closer and closer to a fully value-based payment model. As part of that, the CMMI has started offering bundled payments for the vast majority of TKAs, and this bundle includes preoperative care, the surgery itself, and then anything that happens for 90 days after a surgery. So, sorry, going back for one sec. So that means that providers are on the, they have to pay for, they're incentivized to ensure patients have faster recoveries and fewer complications. One example of these complications, TKAs need manipulation under anesthesia after a surgery, and that costs thousands of dollars each time. So this device will save providers money by making sure there are fewer complications, making sure that patients don't need intensive physical therapy after the home physical therapy fails, and then patient satisfaction is correlated with patient outcomes pretty heavily, but also is starting to be tied to reimbursement. So.
Are there competitors in this space?
Yeah, so we don't really find any people who are using the device to we think of this as kind of like a force multiplier for physical therapists to like see what's happening at home after they send the patients home, and nothing really tracks the quality of the exercises when they're done at home.
And then what's to stop someone from doing what you're doing? Do you have some unique algorithm or anything like that?
Say it again?
What's to stop a competitor from doing what you're doing later?
It's a good question. What do you guys think?
I mean, I don't know too much about the legal side of things, but there is a hardware component to it, and it's going to be a medical device that's going to be built into the brace itself. So I don't know if we're able to patent anything, but I mean, the case stands that, you know, it's 2016, and a quick search on the App Store reveals really nothing that comes close to this level of functionality. The closest thing that we found was apps that kind of is basically like a dictionary for the different types of physical therapy that you can do with no interactivity and definitely no tracking and definitely no physician-facing interface.
I like the concept. I think you can probably take one step further if you'd like to add a temperature sensor because infection is a big problem as well. You can probably combine that with the Fitbit and others because if a person is not working good, they may not be walking.
Yeah.
You can actually have a triangulation of data so you can make much progress. How much have you been able to accomplish? It seems like you made a progress in the direction. Have you been able to get the signal back?
Yeah, so just going back to your first point and then moving on. So we talked about a temperature sensor and we just didn't have time to incorporate it, but we definitely talked about that. That's a great idea. The thing about a Fitbit, so what we're planning on doing, and we didn't have time to talk about this, is after the at-home physical therapy, you can remove this part and keep the part on your shoe, and that'll be like the Fitbit. But the problem with a lot of physical therapy after TKAs is you're not running or walking, it's like stationary bike, and so a Fitbit can't catch that, but something on your foot can. So that's like a big part of why we did that. Your original question was, about the hardware. So these devices, we kind of just came up with this idea yesterday, and these devices we found, but we didn't have time to get them before today. So we had everything laser printed to the right specifications to fit them inside, but we haven't gotten the hardware yet, so we don't have it.
Thank you.
Is 8530 going to be the total price of the?
That's the price for the hardware, just to order the hardware. Obviously, there's going to be other stuff on top, but that's just to show that the price of the hardware itself is you know, relatively not huge.
Yeah, compared to the price of readmission.
Pardon?
The cost of the hardware in comparison to the price of the cost of readmission for, or the cost of future pain treatment is minuscule.
Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you, guys.